the end of the day, a good leader understands the mission, right? And the mission could be military, the mission could be civilian, right? If you, whatever the task is, that's your mission. And a leader, a leader listens to their people, what's going on. A leader contributes to the overall mission. A leader encourages to get through. So for example, listening. If you're hearing that the team is maybe overworked and short-staffed, you got to go fix that. How are we going to fix that? I got to go find more people to bring on here. Or, it should only take 10 people to do this, and I have 10 people on the team. Why are the team feeling overworked? Oh, it's because 2 of them are not pulling their weight. So listening to the team to compensate or to work through those issues. Guiding and mentoring. We should all be working on somebody to replace us someday, right? Because the only way that we're going to move up in our careers is that somebody has to be filling our background. The last thing you want is to be walking out the door because you're going to go take another opportunity and to leave your team behind you falling apart, because that's not a good leader. A good leader says, Manny's going to be the guy because Manny's been coming up the ranks. He understands where you're all coming from. He's going to take care of you because he knows who you are. And so we want to always train our replacements. A good leader will listen more than they will talk. And that's, a leader doesn't have all the answers. The other, let's say it's a team of 9, a team of 10, the other 10 people, the other 9 people can figure it out. They can kind of give suggestions. They can give the answers. And so it doesn't always have to be the leader's way, because that's not a leader, that's a dictator. If it's just going to be this is what I want, this is what I want it done. It's understanding what the team can perform and say, all right, guys, we have a deadline of this Friday. How are we going to do it? And letting them come up with the answers. Letting them come up and proactively say, hey, I've got a great idea. All right, go for it. You've got my full support. Let's, if you think it's a great idea, let's try it out and see what happens. It's just listening, understanding, guiding, mentoring. That's what makes a great leader, Predicting, I'd say, is another thing. Being predictive of things that might cause chaos in the work environment, so that you can proactively maybe work through those types of situations. And then I'm sure there's more. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it.
Well, that's interesting, because leadership is so important, and that can make or break your experience. And I'm sure either in the military or in the workforce or even in school, like to an extent, you're going to see leaders everywhere. And I can think back, there's definitely been jobs that I've had in the past where, I'll give you a perfect example. Just going back to your example, one of my bosses, he told me a story of a job that he used to work where, he went in and he had some scripting experience, right? So he saw some of the things that were repetitive, and he was like, well, I could probably automate some of this stuff so then we can be free to do other things. And he went with the idea to his leader, and the reply from his leadership was that this is the way that we do things. Don't mess with it. Just do what you're told, right? And he ended up doing the scripting anyways, and he ended up low key just passing it to all his coworkers because there were other objectives that they wanted to achieve and get done. Anyway, long story short, the guy ended up finding out, and he had a conversation with Dan, is the name of the person, and basically telling, chewing him out for, making the team more efficient, basically. More efficient. He ended up leaving the job anyways because he's like, well, I'm not going to be at a place where I'm just going to be a monkey, So leadership is so important, man, for sure.
Yeah. you definitely have to embrace, if you still live in the past, you're never going to move forward, right? And so process improvement, making people's lives easier, making them feel valued. Attrition is huge right now, where people, especially in the IT field, can move from one thing to another in the drop of a hat. Especially on the security side, you've got to entice people to want to stay with you. So whether it's, sometimes the work is work, right? But it's the people that make you want to stay. And that's one reason why I stayed at our previous company for so long, was because it was the people, man. It was the people our team that we worked next to each other, side by side. It's the reason why I stay in the military for so long, is that I don't want to leave my people. And it's not because I love being a senior master sergeant, or, I love being in charge of 100 plus people. It's because I genuinely love the people I'm working with, and I care about their careers. I care about their mission. I care about their families, and it's just more than just besides them, because you got to care about their what they're mentally going through, what they're professionally going through. Because if you take care of them on that side, they'll be better for you on the work side, on your mission side. So understanding where they're coming from, maybe I'll give you an example. One of my employees at my Raytheon job, his dad died he became my employee in June. His dad died in July, and his wife had a extremely challenging pregnancy, which they just had their baby 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Very nice and healthy, and everybody's healthy, everybody's good. But in 1 year, or within 5 months of each other, he had a major death in his family of his father, and he had a very challenging birth of their third child. And so I had to sit back and say, you know what, work comes second. I've got you. And that's where a good leader will do, right? Not to pat myself on the back, but I covered his job while he was gone, or while he was focused on taking care of that other stuff. And then I would call him on the weekends. We're not work related. And I would call him and say, Kenny, it's not work related. I'm just calling to see how you're doing. How's Kimmy doing? How's the baby doing? How's your children doing? How's your mom doing? And just have those conversations to say, hey man, I'm here outside of the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I want to be there. And he's all the way in Tucson. So a phone call, a Zoom call, really lets him know that, and I feel good about this, really lets them know that, hey, I'm there for you. You need help, you need an ear. I'm just a guy on the other end of the phone, and you can talk to me about anything. I won't judge you. I won't criticize you. I know what you're going through, or maybe I don't know what you're going through in some cases, because I still have my dad. But I can only imagine if I lost my dad, what I would be going through. And hopefully someday that if I do go through my dad, he'll remember, and he'll call me up, and he'll be that ear, for me as well. So
I don't want to say, I don't think interesting is the word. I think uncommon is the word, in a good way. Because I don't think that there are many bosses, quote unquote, or leaders that really take that extra step to look at an employee, not only as an employee, but like a human being, right? That has things going on external to the work. And man, I hope that there are some bosses that listen to this conversation and the last bit there, because I'll tell you, man, I think that there's been some companies that I've left that if there was that extra touch of, I understand what you're going through, or I'm here to, there's been a couple of leaders that I've had in companies where I've seen, I'm here to try to help you become the best you that you can be. And there's some that fake it, and they're faking it. And there are those that genuinely care for you as a human. It's so, the effort that it takes to be able to do that, it's crazy, because it's so little. It doesn't cost you or the company anything. But man, that I worked extra hard for those leaders because I know they got my back. You know what I mean? And it's crazy.
You're not going to leave that person because they're a bad manager, because You're not going to leave the manager who calls you on the weekends, calls you at night and says, "Hey man, how are your finals? How, I heard, you told me you had to take the day off to take care of your finals. How'd you do today? Anything stressing you out?" I get a military guy. He's flying all the way to Africa to get married. I think he leaves next week. And so I helped him do all the paperwork to get out there. I've been checking on him. And I said, "Hey man, send me pictures. Send me, I'm super excited for this guy. He's just getting married." And so it's one of the great things about leadership is that it's not the mission at the end of the day that makes us successful. It's the impact that we bring to the organization that we leave behind, right? And so great leaders are those who encourage others to be better, because when that person leaves, guess who's remaining? It's those people who that person encouraged to continue on in that person's absence, to be great, because if they leave, that person didn't help build up other people, that organization could crumble or struggle to get to that next level. And so you see that in the military, where if you get a negative leader, the whole organization's negative. But if you have a positive leader, that whole organization is very positive, right? And stronger for it. And they're not watching their wristwatches or watching their phones and say, "Oh, it's 4 o'clock, I'm done for the day." They're engaged. And the leader walks up at 4 o'clock and says, "Listen, I'm really sorry, but I need you guys to stay another hour or two. And I'm going to buy pizzas if you all stay, if you guys can stay." And they're like, "You know what, you don't need to buy pizzas. We're here for you. Let's go for it. And let's just push through." Or, if I had to call an IT guy on a Saturday because something's down, they'll take my call, because it's either 50-50 whether, hey, Larry's asking how my weekend's going, or he's asking me to come in to do something. And I want to do right by him, and I want to do right by our team, and so I'm going to take that call, and I'm going to do what needs to be done, and that's what I rely on. And to give that effort to your team, it's really no effort, because at the end of the day, you're a family, and it's just like if your brother called you up, man, you wouldn't just blow him off and just throw the phone off to the side. You're going to take that call because it's family. And so my civilian job, my civilian leader, my civilian team, my military team, my family, they're all my family, right? Each one of them's a family pod, but I'm there for them all. And because I'm going to take care of them as a family, they're going to take care of me as a family. And our lives, not just our work, our lives are going to be better for it all,
Yeah, I know, and we've talked at length about leadership and how important it is. Is that something do you think that you're just born with? Can you learn to be a good leader? Like, did you have to learn to be a good leader, or were you just born a good leader?
I think some aspects in your life make you a good leader, but you have to become a better leader. And every training course, every life experience may not always be positive the way you want it to be, but it's a learning moment to make you better in your leadership as you move forward. And so at Raytheon, I've hired 20 or 30 sysadmins in the past 2.5 years, but I've unfortunately had to fire 5 and help out with a couple more. And it's painful to do that, but it makes the team stronger and makes you stronger to sit there and say, what could I have done better for those 5 or 6 admins that could have maybe turned them around a little bit, or maybe they were just personally, mentally in the wrong place at the wrong time for us. But I still talk to 1 or 2 of them afterwards, but and try to encourage them, to do something different or better or whatnot. But you've got to constantly be learning. just because you took a leadership course doesn't mean it's done. And it's like, oh, I memorized the book. It's like, no, it's not about a book. It's about experience. It's about building that that bowl of life experiences to share, so that you can relate better to the people that you're working through. So, there are people on this call that are probably not hearing a lot of things they could probably relate to, but there's probably something else in my bowl of experiences that I can probably pull out once the one-on-one conversation starts to happen, and be like, oh man, I had experience just like that, and be able to share it, right? Been in trouble with the law? Yep, I've been in trouble with the law. We can have that conversation. But you got a daughter who's going off to college? Yep, and we can have that conversation, and we can, not that I'm preaching, but I'm just relating, so that we can have a better conversation of middle-aged man to whoever it is, to have that share those experiences, and that ends up turning into leadership or mentorship or guidance to make somebody else stronger as well.